mystery of the Sea Peoples. The force that shattered civilizations. Imagine a world where the greatest empires of the ancient Mediterranean suddenly collapse. One after another, like dominoes falling in the darkness of history. Around 1200 BCE, something unprecedented happened. Advanced civilizations that had flourished for centuries vanished almost overnight. Cities were burned to the ground. Trade networks that had sustained entire regions simply ceased to exist, and at the center of this catastrophe stood a mysterious force known only as the Sea Peoples. Who were they? Where did they come from? And how did they manage to bring the mighty Bronze Age civilizations to their knees? This is one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. A tale of destruction so complete that even today, more than 3,000 years later, we're still trying to piece together what really happened. The Bronze Age was a time of unprecedented prosperity in the Eastern Mediterranean. Great empires like the Hittites in Anatolia, the Mycenaeans in Greece, and the powerful city-states of Syria and Canaan dominated the region. They traded with each other, fought wars, made alliances, and built magnificent palaces and temples. Their bronze weapons and tools represented the cutting edge of technology. Their scribes kept detailed records on clay tablets, documenting everything from royal decrees to merchant transactions. But around 1200 BCE, something went terribly wrong. The archaeological record shows a wave of destruction sweeping across the eastern Mediterranean. Major cities were sacked and burned. The great Hittite Empire, which had rivaled Egypt for supremacy, simply disappeared from history. Mycenaean palaces in Greece were destroyed and abandoned. In Syria and the Levant, prosperous cities turned into ruins. The complex trade networks that had connected these civilizations broke down completely. Even the art of writing was lost in some regions, ushering in what historians call a dark age. And in the midst of this chaos, ancient Egyptian records speak of mysterious invaders arriving from the sea. The Egyptians called them the Sea Peoples, though this term actually referred to a coalition of different groups with names that still echo mysteriously through history: the Pelset, the Jeker, the Shekelesh, the Denyen, and the Weshesh, among others. Some scholars believe they can identify these groups with later known peoples. The Pelset, for instance, might have been the Philistines who later settled in Canaan, but their true origins remain one of history's most debated questions. Were they displaced peoples fleeing from some catastrophe in their homelands? Were they organized raiders and pirates? Were they mercenaries who turned against their former employers? Or were they something else entirely? A massive migration triggered by climate change, famine, or internal conflicts we can barely imagine? What we know comes primarily from Egyptian sources, particularly the temple inscriptions of Pharaoh Ramesses III. Around 1177 BCE, Egypt faced what might have been its greatest crisis. The Sea Peoples launched a massive coordinated attack by both land and sea. They came with their families, their possessions loaded onto ox carts, suggesting this wasn't just a raid but a full-scale migration of desperate people searching for new lands. The Egyptian records describe terrifying scenes. The invaders swept through Anatolia and Syria, leaving destruction in their wake. They conquered Cyprus. They destroyed the great cities of the Levantine coast, and then they turned their sights on Egypt itself, the last remaining superpower of the Bronze Age world. Ramesses III prepared for the greatest battle of his reign. He fortified the Nile Delta, positioned his army, and readied his fleet for naval combat. The battle that followed would determine the fate of Egyptian civilization. The temple walls at Medinet Habu preserve dramatic reliefs of this epic confrontation. They show Egyptian archers raining arrows down upon the invaders' ships. They depict fierce hand-to-hand combat. The pharaoh himself is shown larger than life, commanding his forces to victory. According to the inscriptions, Egypt won. Ramesses III claimed to have defeated the Sea Peoples, killed thousands of their warriors, and captured many others. The Egyptian civilization survived when so many others had fallen. But victory came at an enormous price. Egypt was exhausted, its resources depleted. The empire never fully recovered its former glory. The Bronze Age world that had existed before the crisis was gone forever. The Sea Peoples, meanwhile, seemed to vanish as mysteriously as they had appeared. Some groups apparently settled in various regions around the Mediterranean, merging with local populations and founding new cultures. So what really caused this catastrophic collapse? Modern scholars have proposed numerous theories, each adding another piece to this complex historical puzzle. Some point to climate change. Evidence suggests that the eastern Mediterranean experienced severe droughts around this time. Crops would have failed, leading to famine and forcing populations to migrate in search of food and resources. Others emphasize the role of earthquakes. The region sits on major fault lines, and there's evidence of seismic activity around 1200 BCE that could have destroyed cities already. Weakened by other factors, economic theories suggest that the complex trade networks of the Bronze Age were too interconnected. When one part of the system failed, it triggered a domino effect that brought down the entire structure. Without tin for bronze making, without grain shipments, without the luxury goods that sustained royal courts, the great empires simply couldn't function. Some historians propose that internal rebellions and class warfare played a role. Perhaps the Sea Peoples weren't foreign invaders at all, but rather displaced peasants, rebels, and mercenaries rising up against the palace economies that had exploited them. The truth is probably a combination of all these factors. A perfect storm of climate crisis, natural disasters, economic collapse, and social upheaval that created chaos on an unprecedented scale. The Sea Peoples may have been both cause and effect. Raiders who took advantage of the chaos while also being refugees fleeing from the same catastrophes that were destroying the Bronze Age world. What's certain is that after the dust settled, the world was transformed. From the ashes of the Bronze Age civilizations, new powers would eventually emerge. The Iron Age was beginning. New alphabets would spread. New empires would rise. But the mystery of the Sea Peoples remains. A haunting reminder of how even the mightiest civilizations can fall, and how much of our past remains shrouded in shadow. Perhaps that's the most stunning revelation of all, that despite all our knowledge, despite all our archaeological discoveries and scholarly research, history can still keep its secrets. If you found this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries fascinating, subscribe to Stunning Revelations for more incredible stories from the ancient world. Hit that subscribe button and join us as we uncover the secrets that time tried to hide. New revelations await. The mystery of the Sea Peoples.